Week 7, we have your top 40 running backs ranked and tiered. But before Sunday, let's break down these updated running back rankings for Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season. Welcome to E&M Fantasy Football, where I combine industry-leading data, Vegas sportsbooks, and expert analysis to provide you with optimal weekly rankings for the utmost accuracy when setting your weekly lineups in your fantasy football league. I'm writing this on Tuesday night for Wednesday's video. Expect more videos later every week for the other unit groupings like wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end. Click the playlist at the top right so you don't miss out. We start off the top 40 running backs for Week 7. Full PPR, the guys slated for over 90 yards. Over 90 total yards for the S tier. Derrick Henry, 92 over under against Tampa. Kyren Williams at 2, 89 over under facing Las Vegas. Saquon Barkley, 86 over under versus the Giants. And Alvin Kamara, 112 over under facing Denver. Wow. These are your top 4 running backs for Week 7. They are your best running backs this week according to Vegas sportsbooks, in the best position to go over 80 total yards. Lock them in. The A tier begins with the rest of the elite running backs. We want good matchups favored by Vegas with high point totals. That is how we mitigate chance and hedge our bets. These guys are slated by Vegas for about 70 to 80 yards this week. Starting with Breece Hall at 5. 85 over under versus Pittsburgh. Look, we just harped about good matchups, and Pittsburgh is 4th best against the run. Having said that, though, we're talking about Breece Hall. And if Rico Dowdle can go for 87 rushing yards against the Steelers, then Breece Hall can also do it. Lock him in. Jahmyr Gibbs at 6. 75 over under for Jahmyr facing Minnesota. I mean, copy and paste what I just said about Breece here for Gibbs as well. Minnesota is 2nd best against the rush thus far, but we're talking about the Lions. Gibbs catches passes, and no team runs at a higher rate. Don't be scared. Bijan Robinson at 7. 70 over under for Bijan. He's averaged 89 total yards per game. And in spite of the volatility, handcuffing, and Cousins throwing for 900 yards per game, the bottom line is every back that has went up against the Seahawks rushing defense has went over, and Robinson will do the same. James Cook at 8. 72 over under for James. He's averaged 86 total yards per game. The Titans are 9th best, allowing 125 yards in their last 3 contests. The Titans haven't really been tested with a premier back, though, and they'll have their work cut out for them when facing James. Jordan Mason at 9, or whoever ends up in the backfield. 85 over under. I understand that it's unclear who is going to make the start, but let's be honest, I don't think it matters. The Niners O-line are the real story to all the backup backs and their success. And regardless of who they slot in, they will have that success, even against a stingy Chiefs D-line. JT at 10. Jonathan Taylor, 80 over under versus Miami. We're assuming he returns. If it's Trey Sermon, drop him into the B tier. That being said, though, the Dolphins have allowed every single running back to go over against them, and if Taylor plays, he'll get his 80. If Sermon plays, he'll get his 60, but drop him into the tier below. J.K. Dobbins at 11. 68 over under for Dobbins. He's averaged 88 rushing yards per game. Very good. The Cardinals have allowed multiple backs to get 71, 89, 101, and 105 yards against them this season. Lock in JK to go over 68, to say the least, versus Arizona this week. Chuba Hubbard at 12. What is the Panthers going to do when Brooks comes back? Oh, man. In spite of the Panthers almost certainly getting mollywopped by Washington this week, Hubbard has averaged, get ready, 95 total yards per game. To boot, every single back has went over when facing the Commanders. I don't care they're only slated for 22 points. Lock in Chuba Hubbard to get them yards and points for you. And for the last guy in this tier, ErvinandM.com. ErvinandM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description, find something you love, and buy it today. Back to the video. ErvinandM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description, find something you love, and buy it today. Back to the video. And at 13, we start the next tier with the rest of the starting running backs with some caveats and concerns. These guys are projected in the 60s range, but with higher floors than the tiers below, obviously. KW3, Kenneth Walker III, 65 over-under versus Atlanta. 92 yards per game, baby. 92 yards per game. Atlanta has allowed every back to go over. Lock KW3 in against the Falcons this week. They are 25th against the rush, and Walker is top tier. Top tier. David Montgomery at 14, 58 over-under for David. Seems a bit low. The only caveat keeping Monty from going back-to-back with Gibbs, he doesn't catch passes for the PPR scam like Jameer does. And while we should have every bit of faith in him going over his line this week, he's averaged 93 yards per game. We have to give credence to the Vikings' second best rush defense. Tony Pollard at 15. 84 yards per game for Pollard this season. And Buffalo is 23rd against the rush, allowing 140 yards per game. So Pollard should have no sweat. Hitting is over. Joe Mixon. What a return. 119 total yards per game. Albeit only a 3-game sample, it's worth mentioning that that includes his injury game of only 50 yards. So he's done outstanding whenever he's played. Green Bay has allowed nearly every back to go over, and we should expect Mixon to smash here as well. Devon Achane? Oh my God. 65 over under. The Dolphins have had a week off. They are still in dire straits in real life, don't get me wrong. But for fantasy, Mostert returns, and the fact that the Colts are just so bad at defending the run. They're literally the 31st worst. There's a chance. There's a chance here for him to do, well, at least his over-under. James Conner at 18. 66 over-under for James. James has maintained 81 total yards per game. 3 out of 4 backs have hit that over against LA, but it is worth mentioning that the Chargers are favored in this one, and the Cardinals' offense has been in a bit of a slump. Brian Robinson Jr. at 19. 60 over-under. Aside from a game or two, Robinson has been stellar for Washington this year, nearing or going over 100 yards in most contests. We're assuming he plays, and oh boy, if he does, he gets the Panthers' run defense, where nearly every back has gone over. Carolina is 30th worst against the rush, so good news. Josh Jacobs at 20. 60 over-under for Jacobs. Jacobs has averaged 93 total yards per game. He's just been allergic to touchdowns this year, with only 1 tutty on the season, and that's given everybody a bad taste in their mouth. That being said, in the last 3 contests, the Texans have allowed 82 yards, 90 yards, and 102 yards to opposing backs. So Jacobs can get it done here, no problem. C tier. We have more volatile backs. We're officially in the handcuff / terrible offenses / terrible matchups territory. These guys are also projected for about 60 yards, but with lower floors and more volatility. Tyrone Tracy Jr. 65 over under. Tyrone comes in at 21 to start it off. There's a lot of good news. He's averaged 118 total yards in his first 2 starts. Philly is league average against the rush and allowed every single back to go over. The bad news, however, we don't know if Singletary is returning, and we don't know what they're going to do with him in terms of splitting, etc. So, kind of a wait and see. Aaron Jones at 22, 60 over under. Jones is crushed with about 103 total yards per game. The only 2 problems this week is we don't know what his status is, and the Lions are 3rd best against the rush. Very scary. Jones can totally do it, but there's a lot of ifs, and if Ty goes in his stead, I don't know. I would drop him down to the D tier. We'll see what happens. Tank Bigsby, 23, 40 over under for Tank. In spite of 98 yards in his 3 starting games. He only had 24 in his last contest against the Bears. I guess that's throwing sportsbooks for a loop. Patriots are just below league average against the rush. I don't know. He should do fine to go over. We're just a little concerned with the lack of line and volatility. Jags are just not great. Alexander Madison at 24. 60 over under for Madison, only 48 yards per game for Madison. But the good news is the Rams are literally the worst in the league against the rush. So his 60-yard line this week makes a lot of sense. It's a little scary, but he's a key player in a dwindling Raiders team in the middle of blowing it all up and rebuilding. So I assume they look to lean on him. Javonte Williams at 25. 60 over under for Williams. 59 total yards per game this season. So his line at 60 makes a lot of sense. The Saints are below league average when facing the rush. Broncos offense has been functional and improving. He's got a fair chance to hit his line. And at this point in the rankings, that's about all you can hope for. Chase Brown at 26. 56 over under for Chase. 69 total yards in his past 4 games. 55 total per game on the season. Bengals appear to be ramping him up in lieu of Zach Moss. Thank God. They have a nice total as favorites. He should be fine. Najee Harris at 27. 59 over under for Najee. In spite of him totaling 85 yards per game this season. Pretty good. But he's getting the Josh Jacobs treatment. He's only had 1 touchdown on the season. The Jets allow every back to go over, so he should be fine to hit his thing. But the big concern is, while favored in this matchup, Pittsburgh is only slated for 19 points. Not good. Not good at all. Kareem Hunt looks a little different this week. Hunt has only played in 2 games, but he's averaged 101 yards across those 2 games in total yards. The bad news is the Chiefs are underdogs in this one, and the Niners are 7th best against the rush, and 2 games is hardly a sample. So from here, though, it's a cliff. There are no more guarantees. Prepare yourself for some bleak matchups and outlooks. It's the last viable anything. These guys are slated for 50 to 40 yards, and there's only a couple of them. Bucky Ervin at 29. 50 over under versus Baltimore. Bucky Ervin, Sean Tucker, Rashad White. We just don't know the status of him or what the backfield's going to be like. And in real life, they're looking great. But for fantasy, this throws any Bucs running back rosters to be left just waiting to see what happens with the scheme in terms of like a 3-headed backfield, etc. And what's worse immediately is they face the number 1 run defense, the Ravens. Baltimore is allowing, get ready, only 59 rushing yards per game. unbelievable. Devastating. Very scary. Ramondre Stevenson at 30. 50 over-under for Ramondre. 50 over-under ain't bad. It's doable, but he's averaged 78 yards per game, but we don't know his status this week. And the Jags are 11th best against the rush. Only one back to go over so far this season, so kind of sketchy. Zach Moss at 31. 55 over-under for Moss. Moss has went under in 5 out of his 6 games. He is seemingly giving up more of the backfield to Chase Brown. He's averaged 58 yards per game, so he can hit his line, but the Browns are in shambles, and they're heavy underdogs in this one. Raheem Mostert at 32. 40 over-under for Mostert. I mean, we pretty much don't have any useful data for Mostert and the rest of them this season. However, we do know, healthy or not, he'll be playing behind Achane. The good news is the Colts are basically the worst against the rush. So he can get us 40, but I don't know if that's helping you at all, unless you're just in a really deep sicko league. So Tyler Algier at 33, 35 over under. Oh man. Look, he's averaged 55 total yards per game and absolutely smashed this past week against the Panthers, going over 100. The Hawks have allowed 4 out of 5 to go over as well, but let's be real. He's second fiddle to Bijan Mostert. So barring an injury, I mean, that's just not changing. Not changing. From here, though, there are absolutely no guarantees. If you're having to slot any of these backs from here, let me know why in the comments, for real. We'll go rapid fire. Ty Chandler, Nicholas Chubb, Zach Charbonnet, Braylon Allen, Antonio Gibson, Devin Singletary, Trey Sermon. It doesn't matter. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Throw that in there. You feel me? Yeah, throw in anybody else that you want in the list. If you want clarification or start sit versus, drop it down in the pinned comment. I'll put your running backs back on the screen now. And I sincerely hope this helps everyone watching. Thank you for your time. Support the channel so I can keep making these videos by subscribing and turning on post notifications so you can see all the videos each week before submitting your lineups. It's free, so it's a good value. And if you want to support me, check out my store at www.ervinm.com. I have 2 passions, baby: fantasy football and small business. We're a 2-man show at E&M. We take pride in the quality and craftsmanship of our products. There's no better way to support me than by buying a gift or something special for yourself. Everything is handcrafted from limited stock here in North Carolina by me and my partner with our own hands. We make everything ourselves. We do everything ourselves. We ship anywhere in the U.S. Don't forget to use the promo code. Thanks again if you're still with me. That's the video. Watch some more videos.